Hi everyone, and welcome to another live edition of NFL Kids U with me, Jake Siegel, your host and senior NFL analyst. As promised, a special interview today from Patriots safety Bret Lockett. I'll get to him in just a moment, but first let's talk about the latest headlines around the National Football League. First of all, out in Minnesota, Broncos quarterback Kyle Orton is working out with Cardinals wide receiver Larry Fitzgerald in Minnesota this week. And obviously, we know there's a lot of uncertainty with the Broncos quarterback situation, and we know in Arizona the same is there's the same likewise quarterback inconsistency. So Larry Fitzgerald may secretly be advocating for Orton to become his starter in Arizona. Speaking of a former Arizona Cardinal, quarterback Kurt Warner and current NFL Network analyst told KTR Radio in Arizona this week that he thinks free agent quarterback Mark Folger, who backed up with the Ravens last year, is just satisfied with being an NFL backup and not pursuing the starting job that many people think he may want. And a few months ago, Warner also said that the players may give in and say that because the relatively short career of the NFL players will put pressure on them to make a deal done in the NFL labor dispute. And obviously, speaking of the latest labor disputes, ESPN's Adam Schefter reported labor discussions almost blew up on Wednesday when lawyers were allowed back in the room to try to settle things out and clear the dust. And a reported deal was reached that said 80 to 85% of the lockout was reached. And obviously that's telling me that there's one or two big factors and issues that the sides are still at odds against. My guess from what I'm hearing is most likely the 16 to 18 game schedule and how to split the $9 billion revenue pie. That's most likely the two issues that they're still at odds about. But issues like the team salary cap and the rookie salary wages are probably and most likely settled by now. Out in Baltimore, Ravens head coach John Harbaugh and offensive coordinator Cam Cameron recently have told general manager Ozzie Newsome that a capable fullback is a priority in the Ravens' new revamped offense. And obviously we know LeRon McClain was a Pro Bowler last year, such a good player, and I believe that he has to be a priority for the Baltimore Ravens in the offseason and trying to get him re-signed as quick as possible, because if he is not re-signed, Joe Flacco may have some problems throwing the football in terms of blocking, and there'll be no one to block Ray Rice, and those are two key issues that the Ravens may face if they don't get a solid fullback in their lineup. Speaking of running backs, Saints running back Reggie Bush was apparently a no-show at all the Saints workouts this offseason, according to Jeff Duncan of the New Orleans Times-Picayune. And three league sources have told Yahoo Sports that the Saints gave Reggie Bush permission to speak with other NFL clubs in February. Now, this is a bit conflicting because they brought NFL Network brought head coach Sean Payton of the Saints on TV during the draft, and they asked him the latest contract status of Reggie Bush, and Sean Payton responded by saying, "I'd be shocked and surprised if Reggie Bush was not a Saint next season." Dolphins general manager Jeff Ireland is reportedly seeking a running back in free agency who will compete with number 62 overall pick Daniel Thomas, who was drafted at Kansas State. So what I'm seeing is it looks like the Dolphins want Thomas to be the solid back, and the futures of Ricky Williams and Ronnie Brown is still a bit uncertain at this point. And let's stay within the AFC East for a moment. Jets head coach Rex Ryan, when asked about the Plaxico Burress Derby, he said the Jets will hold off to make a decision on Burress until they re-sign or deal with their own free agents first. And now, most importantly, let's get to my interview with Bret Lockett. And I said, first of all, Bret, we'd like to thank the time that you've given us to NFL Kids U, and we'd like to thank the time you've donated to us. But most importantly, Bret, how does it feel to be a New England Patriot? He said, Jake, it's truly a great feeling, and it's truly an accomplishment and a dream come true. It's a blessing, and it's something that I've worked so hard for my entire life, and just playing in the NFL itself is such a privilege. The next question I asked him is, we know Bill Belichick is such a good coach. He's coached in Pro Bowls, won 3 Super Bowls. What makes him this good coach? And we know he won the Coach of the Year last year. He said, Jake, what I think makes Bill a great coach is his consistency. And in general, consistency is key. And most importantly, he's a winning head coach and puts us in the right situations to win football games. And that's why I believe he is one of the best coaches that the NFL has ever had. Next question I asked him is, how do you see the Patriots next year? And who's the toughest team you ever played against? He said, Jake, how do I see our team next year? Every team has one goal at the beginning of the season. That's win week in and week out every single game they play. Sadly, though, it's pretty unfortunate that no team's able to win all their games they play because the competition in the NFL in this day and age is just way too competitive. And the toughest team that I've ever played against would have to be the Indianapolis Colts and Peyton Manning. That guy's amazing, one of the best in the game at what he does, and he's able to read and dissect defenses and hurt you in so many different ways. And another question I was able to catch up with Bret and ask him is, what's your biggest strength and what's the one thing your coaches have told you to work on? He said, Jake, my biggest strength has been my versatility. As a safety, I have the ability to play several positions and contribute on special teams. But most importantly, playing safety is one of the hardest positions in the National Football League today. An advantage I gain is being able to survey the field in all angles. And I have to know what everyone's doing on every single down, especially the quarterback, as I have to be able to read his eyes perfectly and predict where he's going to throw the football. As for my biggest weakness, it's not just me per se, but I would say from all NFL players, trying to be consistent at what you do. As we know, no NFL player is perfect, and there are always areas for improvement, and wherever I can improve upon, whether it be physically or, emotionally or spiritually, that's one of the things that I have to set my mind upon and improve upon those areas. And my last question I asked him, due to time constraints on NFL Kids U, I obviously had a much longer interview, but the last question I asked him is, Bret, how do you promote positive change in the world? He said, community service and foundation are just two ways I promote it, but I've also donated money to medical research in order for doctors to help find the latest cures on some of the most brutal and harsh diseases that children have unfortunately been diagnosed with. Another way is to stop once and for all and preventing the spread of bullies in school. I can't tell you the amount of kids that I know that are constantly being picked on at school for various different reasons, and I'm trying to send a sign to the kids that there's help and I'm standing up for them and I always have their back and they can always turn to me if they need anything. Once again, we thank you for watching our show today on NFL Kids U. Have a great weekend. My name is Jake Siegel. Follow me on Twitter at NFL Jake Siegel, and follow Bret Lockett on Twitter at Bret Lockett26. Once again, I'm from GB4K Sports and NFL Kids U. Have a great weekend. Thanks for watching.